Welcome to The Real Deal on Success. And today we have a very special guest. We have essentially, through the time of this show, has been about sharing stories of people overcoming obstacles. And oftentimes it's really about business or some personal challenges that some of us can truly relate to, and others go, well, that's a little outside, but if they could do it, then I could do it. You are in for a treat today because this is next level overcoming, surviving, and thriving, turning tragedy into triumph. But first, a word from our sponsor. If you are ready to maximize your mindset, to take your life to the next level, to unlock and unleash your other than conscious mind, go to maximizeyourmindset.com or mindsetmaximizer.com. Download your free guided hypnotic meditation. That's mindsetmaximizer.com. All right, so allow me to introduce our incredible guest here. For almost 2 years, Arjan Erkel was kidnapped by masked Islamic rebels in Dagestan, Russia. It was a nightmare he never expected to live through, but once he was in the middle of it, he learned how to cope with his new circumstances. His unique story about survival, his quest for freedom, and his powerful recovery is still inspiring. For 15 years, through speaking, workshops, and coaching, Arjan inspired thousands of people with his message about freedom and taking ownership of your own life. Next to that, Arjan is also co-founder of Free a Girl, a foundation that is dedicated to freeing young girls from forced prostitution. Since 2008, they have freed and given a second chance to more than 4,700 girls globally. Holy crap. Brother, first of all, on behalf of God, the universe, everyone on this planet, thank you so much for pushing through and, more importantly, sharing your story and do something with it. It is my absolute privilege to meet you. I'm in awe.
Nice to be on your show, Doug. Thanks for having me. And yeah, of course, it's been a hard time in my life before, but I survived, and since then life became more easy, and of course I can give back something to society. I've been kidnapped for 20 months. Those girls who are being sexually exploited, they're also more or less kidnapped, and they also want to have a second life again. So that's what I give back. One of the things I give back. Yeah.
I can't even imagine how, I just want to cover that. How does one not lose their minds? How did you not lose your mind being in that situation? What was it? I mean, there must have been moments where you have filled with so much rage, so much frustration, anger, bitterness, resentment. It could be consuming, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think it's also something to do with pride and honor. I wanted to survive. I wanted to show my family that they were fighting to get me back. So I wanted to fight to come back to them. But also, if you're kidnapped by people from a complete different culture, you also want to show that your culture is strong, that no one is going to take away my culture. So it's pride, honor. You want to win. As some people, are winners. I didn't know I was a winner, but I wanted to win. And yeah, of course, life is also important. I didn't want to lose life. I didn't want to lose my status. So I think that's a combination of all.
Yeah, and what were you doing that got the situation to be kidnapped in the first place? And was there a ransom, or how does one find themselves in a situation like that? Because I think most people get pretty comfortable, not really ever worried about things like that. No. So what were you doing that made you a target for such a thing?
Yes, no, that's a good question. Of course, I was working with Doctors Without Borders, which is an international medical aid organization, and we were working in the southern part of Russia, in Chechnya. There was a civil war between the Russian government and Islamic freedom fighters. That's how they call themselves, but like IS, or like a sort of Taliban. And we were helping the refugees with medical aid, but also with housing, with schooling. And for decades it was an area that was prone to kidnapping, and we always thought, they're not going to target us, and our safety regulations are okay. But at the end, they stopped my car. They came with their guns in their hand, pointing towards me. So that's how I got out of the car, and they beat me up completely. I thought they were going to kill me, but at the end they kidnapped me, and yeah, like you said, they wanted to have ransom. In the beginning, they talked about 12 million. So it was a business case for them, but of course for me it was hardship.
Yeah. Oh my
hell,
gosh. Now, so when you were in, I don't know if these are questions that you've answered before, and he's like, oh, here we go again. But what was it like being held captive? Like what was it day to day? Like, did you, like, how did you?
I only have to close my eyes, and then I see the misery. I was held in a dug out hole under the ground. So it was sort of a cave, but then not with an iron skeleton, but it was surrounded by trees. The insects were there, the mice, the snails. I only had one little door within the door when they gave me food, just a candle. Like it was 6 feet by 5 feet, and then only 6 feet 3 high. So it was really a small place. And yeah, that was, of course, on a good day, it felt like home, because I wanted to make it home. Right. That's very difficult to make it feel home, of course. And on a bad day, it felt like that was my grave already. I was under the ground, not among people, insects waiting for me to die so they could start eating me. And of course, like you said, the emotions went from crying because of misery, because of injustice done to me. But on a good day, I thought, I have to work on making contact with my kidnappers, because they are the only one that can make my situation better. And that was also one of the things I did. I wanted them to see me as a human being. And then I'm an anthropologist by study. So after 2-3 weeks, I managed to get my emotions under control and see them as a study object. Wow. That's how I got some curiosity. I felt some empathy for them, and slowly they've got some empathy for me as well, and that's how we started to make a better relationship. But it took time, of course, and it took 20 months, and of course there were days that I couldn't manage, and I wanted to give up. I wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to take a gun so they would shoot me. But in general, I stayed quite calm. And learn to live with the emotions it gave to me. And I grew in the moment, and I became a stronger person, of course.
Yeah. So I heard you say there weren't people around you, so it's not like you had other people who were kidnapped and captive as well.
I was the only
communicate. So
but they lived around me in the same place. They made a hideout under the ground. So my room was next to their kitchen, to their sleeping room. But in the beginning, of course, they didn't open the door. They just saw me as a prisoner who was dangerous, because if I escape, they will lose $12 million.
Right. Yeah. So lack of a better word, there was almost, some distraction. If they were making noise or doing whatever, you had something else to focus on rather than that complete isolation. Yeah. So one of the things that is so powerful that you just shared, the distinction of going from, I guess, furious to fascinated, right? From like completely like it's a catastrophe to, let me get curious about this. Which is incredible. That is a huge lesson for people who are ever stuck in nothing close to what you've got, but some people can feel trapped.
For sure. Lots of people are trapped, and they're also somehow kidnapped by circumstances. But then it's like you said, how do you turn it around in something that you can see as, it's not a gift, of course, but it's something that you could learn from, or that makes you stronger, instead of being of course, I felt like a victim every now and then, but victim is not something nice to put on your own head, because you can be victim of a situation, but to be a victim is something else, and didn't fit within the macho culture. The guys in the south of Russia are like the UFC fighters, wrestlers, boxers. They're all from that part of the world, but also it didn't feel good for myself. So, and once you're in a situation, it's better to make the best out of it than to make it worse, of course. And then I think it helped me a lot that I, like you said, I became curious and I wanted to learn about them, but also, of course, functional, because if I understand them, then I can influence them. And if I don't understand them, if I don't touch them, or they are not touched by me, then they won't change their behavior.
Right.
So it's also the rationale behind it that it makes sense, I think, to make the best out of the situation.
100%. I mean, I couldn't agree more. I mean, I know we'll get to it. I'll just tease upon it now, is kind of what's happening today in the political divide. I believe that what you just shared, being a little more curious about each other's positions, would help us find a solution as opposed to making everyone wrong for not agreeing. Yep. And we'll get to that. I just blown away by your experience here, and I'd love to just learn a little more. So you shared you got some empathy for them, and now so what kind of relationship did you build with your kidnappers, and not quite Munchausen, but like obviously you must have had some ability to communicate effectively to, if your intention is to influence.
Yeah, no, true. Luckily, I speak a bit of Russian, so that helped, of course. I knew the culture, so I knew I shouldn't be the sissy guy. So I knew I had to stand up for myself. I shouldn't let them beat me or give me the wrong food, because that doesn't fit in their culture. I told them also it's not fair if someone lays on the floor and you kick him, because the first group, they really beat me while I was laying on the floor already. So I told them that I didn't expect it from Chechen guys. And they said, yeah, no, we will not do that. If you behave, we won't touch you. So I had to build trust, because I didn't trust them, of course. They didn't trust me. They thought I was some kind of a special James Bond, because they thought I had weapons, I had the knowledge to escape. I don't know if you still know the MacGyver from
in the
90s. So they looked at me like, okay, he's going to escape. But yeah, I'm not a spy. Of course, I'm quite big. I was taller than them. But it was more about safety, about trust, because they didn't want to lose the $5 million. They didn't want to lose their life. And the same for me. I didn't trust them, because they said, yeah, if you behave, we will behave. If you behave, you can brush your teeth twice a day. You can wash once a week. What I did was listening to their promises, and if they didn't keep their promise, I would tell them, like, this is the promise you made yourself. I behave, I go according to the rules you gave to me, so you should also behave. And that builds trust. Also, if they forgot their masks, if they let their weapons close to me, I told them, you better put on your masks, you better put on, take away the weapons. Once I had a gun in my hand, but I gave it back to them. So
wow.
Because I was not in the army, so I didn't know how to use a gun. In the Netherlands, we don't have guns at home. I don't know. We always think that every American has a gun at home. I don't know if that's true. But,
we do.
Yeah, you do.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's building trust, but it's also building, real interest, I think. Because if you like someone, you yourself also want to do more for that person than if you don't like someone. So luckily their boss, I called him the general. I gave nicknames to all of them, and not like the fat guy, the fatty, and the bald one, like the bald one, but nice names, like Tank was the strongest, General was the boss, Professor the smartest. I gave a nickname for myself, so that made it more human. I had to humanize the situation, because they didn't start with that. So
Wow. And how many people were there?
In total 13, but they rotated, and most of the time there were 4.
Okay. And did they at some point start letting you out to exercise or things like that? Like it became almost a trusted, I hate to use the term, but it makes me think a little bit like Hogan's Heroes. Do you remember Hogan's Heroes?
No.
So it was basically Hogan. They were trapped. They were captive by the Nazis. It was a comedy, and they had this relationship that it was almost like they could do almost whatever they wanted. They just had to go back into the room at night, kind of thing. It was.
That was not that easy. That would have been. I didn't know the series, but I tried to negotiate that with them. Like, if I promise not to escape, why don't you give me more freedom, and then we can have a yeah, more easy life. But at the end, like in the beginning, of course, they didn't trust me. I didn't trust them, and it took time to make them grow, but also to make me grow. But after 6 weeks, they said, "Why don't you come and sit in the kitchen while one of us is cooking?" And then I was not allowed to watch at the knives or to look at their guns, but I should just sit still and drink a cup of tea. I got a cookie.
Okay.
And then slowly, after like 3 months, they said, okay, every night we can take you out for 30 minutes. But the first time when they told me, I was like scared because they never took me out at night. They never even knocked on my door. But now they said, because they were also nervous, they came to my room and they said, yeah, we're going to air you, or how you call it, to take you out for 30 minutes. But I thought they were going to kill me outside. Right. And that's the way to disguise them. But yeah, from that moment, really for 30 minutes every day, they took me out. So I got more privileges. For example, in the beginning, they didn't allow me to look at the food or to touch the food because they thought I was maybe poisoning them. I was haram. I don't know if you know this word, that if you're not Islamic, then you're dirty. You're not.
Okay,
yeah. And but after like 9 months, they said, okay, maybe you can also cook sometimes for us. So there were definitely improvements and privileges, but that doesn't take away the fear that every day could be the last day. It doesn't take away that you can't cook, you can't eat, there's no real friendship, there's no warmth from friends or people or lovers or of course it became easier, but it never becomes like, hey, like the series.
No, I was just finding how you navigated it and how you influenced, because I'm sure had you not done that, you probably would have been treated considerably worse. Yeah, definitely. And you wouldn't have been able to have, such a strong sense of yourself, because, it would be, consistent dehumanization. Yeah. So, and what's interesting, the way you're sharing it too about them, it sounds a little bit like the way you mentioned it, like it was a business deal for them. So there was no necessarily personal thing. It was like, it's like nothing personal. We don't know you, we just, because for them, it was, they were getting paid to, I guess, keep an eye on you. Were they the ones that kidnapped you, or? No,
there was one group that kidnapped me, and the second group that guarded me. So definitely what you say, that was really important. The second group also said, we don't know you. It's not against you. It's not against your organization, but your organization is rich. So that's why, we choose you. I was the director, the country manager. So they expected my organization to pay more for me than the driver, for example. So, but of course, for me in the beginning, they were the how you call it, the sons of bitches, But,
of course.
But I also had to see them as human beings, and that took some time because, of course, all the fear, the frustration, but I think it's something to do with intuition, but also with normal, rationalistic, intelligent behavior. Like, okay, if I'm going to be aggressive, there's 13 guys who will be aggressive. Right. I'm not going to win. I can run away, but a bullet goes faster. So it's these kind of things also help.
And did they ever, could you ever communicate? Did you ever have I imagine when you look at television shows and ransoms where it's like, he's still alive. We're going to be able to get him back. Did they ever hold up the phone and say, hey, say something, let him know that you're okay?
No, not the telephone, but they made pictures every now and then. But it took 5 months. I don't know. I can share some if you want. But
sure.
I will start the document. But it took 5 months because I think on purpose they waited such a long time because it might increase the chance that my organization would pay right away, because that's what they do on purpose.
Let me give you sharing access here.
Yeah, I have to start something here. So the first, when they made that picture, I was really happy. I thought finally something is going to happen, and finally I'm going home. Let me first show the place where I was kept. Oh, you disabled it.
I did. Let me able it. I thought I had. Okay, share screen. Advanced.
Anyway, so in the middle of the night, I had a beard for 5 months because they wanted me to look like a real Muslim fighter. They always have beards because Muhammad had a beard. And then they came in with a razor blade, and they said, "Yeah, take away your beard." And yeah, I had to. They gave me a uniform, like a military uniform, and then they made some pictures, Polaroid pictures, and that was the sign that I was still alive. And then a month later, they made a new one, really with a newspaper, and yeah, then it felt like I was in the movies, of course, and yeah, it made me really happy because I thought my organization is working on my freedom, because I also started to doubt, of course, like who's trying to get me out? How professional are my colleagues? Do they care at all, or they pretend? Because if it would be if they would do it the wrong way, I would be the one who was going to be killed, of course.
Yeah. See if you could share now. I made you co-host. You should be able to.
Yeah, I am.
Okay.
Let me. This is, for example, my room. How it looked like. So this was my grave under the. I will quickly go to the next one. So this is the first picture they made, and here I was worried actually because it looked like I was one of them.
Right.
I thought they should at least beat me up or put a gun against my head. So I told them, yeah, you better put a gun against my head. But they said, no, we want to look like normal people because everyone is really always negative about Muslim fighters and
actually, we don't want a negative look for us keeping you hostage. We want to look, like, yeah.
And this is the one with the newspaper. Here you can see already that my
beard's
my eyes are more worried and I can even show, but then I have to restart, I think, a little clip if you want.
Sure.
There was an ultimatum video about, and it was really worrisome because it's very, now I'm talking easily about it, of course, but when you're waiting for 10 days, 20 days, 100 days, 200 days, 300 days, your hope also vanishes.
And were you counting days off, or did time just get blurred for you?
No, every day I was really counting the days, and every day I thought maybe tomorrow or maybe today or maybe tonight I will hear some good news. I might go home.
Right, but were you notching days, so you could look back and go, "Oh my gosh, it's been X amount of days"? You were
definitely.
Keeping count?
For example, I never had a, how you call that? The end date is never sure, of course, when you're kidnapped.
Right.
It's not like in prison. So then I thought, okay, I'm here already for 150 days, for example. So my birthday of my father will be in 77 days. That's only the half of the time of 150 days. Wow. So I will make it. So these kind of things really help me. But it's not so strong that it takes away all your worries, of course.
Right.
Worries is about every day is one day closer to the end. And in a good day, the end is a release, and in a bad day, the end is really the end. And then let me show you this video clip.
Yeah, please.
Then it becomes more clear.
I'm going to
share screen with sound. Yeah. You hear it?
Yep.
Я не знаю, если вы можете представлять, как моя жизнь была 10 месяцев, очень трудно. Может быть, сейчас или все будет хорошо, если вы платите. Если вы не платите, это тоже хорошо. Я больше не могу с вот этой жизнью, поэтому через 10 дней все равно все будет решено.
yeah, and that's the way I see myself. It's the hopelessness and despair and tired, and also worried, like, how come no one is helping me? Sometimes I was so angry at my director and my bosses, like, you dumbheads, how difficult is it to get me out? How difficult is it to pay? But also, about the kidnappers, why can't you arrange a deal? And
what kind of salespeople are you? No.
Yeah,
so that look, you had spoken for 10 months, and you said in 10 days it will be clear, but you were there for 20 months. Clearly, 10 days they didn't get the money. Is that what got you out? Yeah. But did they finally pay, or?
At the end they paid for $1 million, and I don't know how they did it, but the Dutch ambassador, he took 1 million from a Dutch bank in Moscow, and he gave it to the negotiators, and they brought it to the mountains, and then they put me in a trunk, and I didn't know where we were going. They said, we'll give you to another group, and we moved a couple of times, and then I could always take my toothbrush and a bit of clothing and deodorant, but this time they said, you don't need anything. So I was like, okay, where are we going? No, everything will be okay. You will go to another group. You will stay there for 3 more weeks. But of course, I was scared to death, because maybe they would just drive me somewhere and
and have another. So, oh wow, he's good for $1 million. Let's give him to another group and get another $1 million.
But then when the trunk opened, I saw guys without wearing those masks, and they said, welcome home. I said, what do you mean welcome home? We got you out, you're going home. We're flying in an airplane to pick you up. And I didn't believe them. But then another Russian guy walked in with a mobile phone, and then I heard the Dutch embassy, some diplomat was talking to me in Dutch. And then I really started to believe that, I'm free, I'm going home. Wow. I want to go to Moscow. I also want my mother to see me, my father to see me. And then it went very fast. I was released in the morning at 6 o'clock, and within 18 hours I was back home in the Netherlands, waiting for my mother on the tarmac of the airport of Rotterdam, the place where I'm from. And her arms were so wide. I've never seen someone giving me such a nice hug, and her smile on her face was really the nicest smile I've ever seen. I've never seen someone.
I can't even imagine.
So
go ahead. That must have been the most exhilarating feeling to literally have that, your life potentially back. Now the only demons you have left are the ones in your head.
True, and it didn't start in right away, because in the beginning, it all felt so unexpectedly, and I became famous, which was also a bit strange, because then people look at you, they expect things of you, and I was thinking, how should I behave? Because normally you play football or you go to the discotheque and you dance and no one notices you, but now everyone was like, hey, this is the guy who's kidnapped, and they were giving me free beers and free restaurant trips, and even police officers, they said, hey, you're parking the wrong way, but okay, it's okay for today, don't do it again. So that was nice, but it was also a bit taking away my freedom again. So I had to.
Whoa, right? That's what a crazy distinction you just shared.
Yeah, but so it took maybe a month or 3 weeks before I got away of that feeling, and then it came in like, wow, you survived, you're strong, all the powerful lessons you learned. You can also use them here in your free time, and that's what, when I started to think, okay, lots of people, like you said in the beginning, are being blocked, or even taking away their freedom in their mind, but also financial freedom, in the wrong relationship, the wrong job, but also willing something, and like you said, not using their potential. They think, I'm not good enough, I can do it. And then I managed to give all kind of lectures, and it's really cool to tell the story, but also to make people change their own lives, and it can be small things like making better contact with the family again, which is actually also big, but also how to how to be stronger, how to be more motivated, how to be more self-secure, these kind of things.
And you weren't a speaker prior to that? Like,
no,
was that,
not at
so
all.
how did you, and I'm gathering just from speaking with you, you absolutely had such a healthy attitude around it. And I'm sure, you know, while these things were happening, I wonder, because were you thinking, how can I, like, while I'm here, how can I use this experience to make a difference in the world? I mean, were you thinking that even then?
No, not even during that time. I think I was too much busy with myself. Of course, I thought, I have to come out and then I should be the new Mandela, or I should solve at least the nuclear disasters. But then my excuse was I don't have a pen because they didn't give me a pen and paper. So, no, I didn't feel that at the beginning. I went to a psychotherapist and he said, because you're so strong and you're an example to lots of people, why don't you start giving lectures? But it was not my aim. I just wanted to go back working with Doctors Without Borders because I think that's also important. While I was in this really misery, I was, of course, I thought about my life a lot. Like, is this the right decision that I made? How come I ended up here? How bad is it that I'm here? And I looked at my life, at my past, and I thought, it's still worth everything that I've done with Doctors Without Borders in my life before that. It was such a great time that I had with this organization, but also in my life. I can even balance it with the misery I'm in now. And that's what I want to tell people as well. Look in your life for the good things, that if bad things happen, because they will happen anyway, then we always think they're not going to happen, but that you can at least measure it with the good things in your life. And he said, go and give lectures. I said, I don't want to give lectures. But then businesses started to invite me, and I really had this wet armpits, like standing in front of 200 people. But luckily my story is unique, and the way I can tell it is probably also good. Otherwise I couldn't do this for 15 years. And making the comparison with normal life, but decisions you don't dare to take, or you think too much before you start to act, all these kind of things, and what steps I made and what can help them. And of course they can say, it's from a book. It's always
from your experience. So I want to dive into that and unpack that a little more. Just I did have a question that I'm a foodie. When what was like the meal, the food that like you were like, I can't wait to have, and it must have tasted glorious. Was there something that like your first meal, like this is I can't wait to have blank?
That's Indonesian food. I'm a great fan of Indonesian food. We have a big Indonesian diaspora in the Netherlands, and that's what I ate not on the first day, but on the second day when I came back. So it's called babi panggang. I don't know if you know it. It's fried rice with pork, and it's quite
cool.
Like food. I'm not such a foodie, but of course, food is also something that you start to miss, because those guys were not great cooks, and they were making food every day, and I had to eat it, and they like white cabbage soup, and I don't know how those kidney beans from Mexico, but then only boiled. I remember the worst Christmas in my life was the first Christmas over there, and I thought I was integrated enough to ask them to make me a Christmas dinner. Because I joined Ramadan, so they didn't have to cook for me during daytime, not to become a Muslim. Right. Then I said, why don't you make a Christmas meal for me? And I was singing these Christmas songs, and I felt miserable. I thought, next year I go to a nice church to have a Christmas mess. And I didn't smell food coming from the kitchen. So I thought, they're having a barbecue outside, and they want to surprise me with a big, nice portion of meat. And I really started to believe in it. And then they came in, and the guy just boiled meat in water. So there was no extra ingredients, just this slimy meat with all. That was really the worst piece of meat I've ever seen. And I remembered all my tears that went down, and they fell in my little plate. And that was the only salt I had.
My gosh.
Yeah, that was Yeah, so I missed food a lot.
Wow. Like that visual, the only salt on my unseasoned boiled meat were the salt from my tears.
Yeah, that was really that's misery. Yeah.
I didn't mean to. I mean, I'm glad we could laugh about it because that shows how far you've come. But that is like I can't even fathom.
No, and then of course all Christmas is ruined, and you think about my family misses me.
Yeah.
I start thinking, will they celebrate Christmas? Is there an empty chair? Can they even live without thinking about me? So of course it's much more than just my cause, but there also it took me like 2-3 days before I could think of something positive. It's not easy to always tackle a bad moment with a good moment, of course. And sometimes you don't have the energy. I didn't have the positive thoughts. So Christmas is really the worst period.
Yeah, and so obviously in the realm of healing, as we're moving forward, you're obviously Christian. If you're celebrating Christmas, I'm presuming, right?
Yeah, but not too much. I call myself a Christian, but it's not like.
But you're certainly you shared. You celebrated Ramadan not to become Muslim. Was there? That can be a pretty wide divide as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So, was there any of that? Like, did that create any tension?
Definitely in the beginning. I don't know how political correct you are, but we are a bit less.
I'm not.
No, okay. Now, for example, in the first day, I came to this new group, and they presented themselves as really radical Islamic fighters. And they want to change the world. They want to have like the Taliban is doing, or ISIS in Syria. So no rights for women, no homosexuals, no nothing. So they asked me, you're from the Netherlands? I said, yeah, I'm from the Netherlands. Yeah, you have this more slightly open sexual morale. I said, yeah, that's true. Okay. Do you have homosexual friends? What would you answer?
I'd probably say, yes, because I do, but I don't know. Like in that moment, to survive, what do you say? Do you lie? What did you do?
What do you do? And I didn't want to feel like a traitor, but I was so worried because what's the right answer? And the guys are standing there with was pointing at you, and okay. So I have one homosexual friend, and I said, no, I don't have it. I betrayed him, but I also betrayed myself. And it made me really bad because that was my inner freedom that I was giving away. Yeah. And then they said, we want you to become Muslim. I said, no, I'm never, ever going to be a Muslim. And I'm sorry, I lied about this homosexual friend. I have one.
Oh, you did say that to them? And then you said that to them?
Yeah, because it made me feel so bad. And they said, why did you lie to us? I said, I was a bit worried. And then they were more curious, like, do you give a hand to to that friend? I said, why not? It's dirty, and maybe he doesn't wash himself. I said, no, of course, why should he be dirty? So they became more like curious than denouncing it. So, but that's what I learned. Stand up for yourself, even under pressure. Don't give away your culture, don't give away your religion. And they respected me more for that I didn't want to give up my religion. And luckily I knew the Bible. And then it became like something we can connect, because lots of stories from the Quran and from the Bible are the same. And like you said in the beginning, it's better to find each other than to be negative about each other. Let's find, and that helped a lot. They wanted to talk about their Islam all the time. Then I could say something it doesn't work that way. And what are you going to do if people don't want to be Islamic? Are you going to kill them all? And that helped a lot to gain my position, but also to get the mutual understanding. So instead of breaking it apart, it helped. Yeah. And they became even less Islamic, because I was allowed to cook. I was allowed to shake hands with them after some time. So I think
so. Crazy question. Have you spoken to any of them since? Like, was there any way to, like, obviously they could find you.
Yeah.
Was there ever, you know, like some weird reconciliation moment where maybe one of them came to their senses, like, "Hey, dude, I'm so sorry. Like that was effed up."
No, it never happened. I wrote once a mail to a rebel, like a Dagestani Chechen rebel site, but they didn't answer. And of course, I don't know if those were the guys that took me. I remember the last sentence of this general when I was put in the trunk of that car that drove me to freedom. He said, "Yeah, I like the way and I respect the way you behaved and you dealt with the situation. And one day I will meet you, and then you will get a percentage of the ransom." Yeah, but he never showed up. No, but that's really true. But later I met one of the intermediators, and he said that it took some time, but all of them, they were wiped out by the Russian army and Russian secret services. So they don't exist anymore.
So last question on that, because I want to move into how, you know, you transitioned and into what you're doing now more. Do you forgive them for what's your relationship with that?
Yeah. I'm not so strong with forgiving and I how to answer this. I don't think there's much to forgive in this situation because they behave better than I expected. They really, I don't know the word in English, but in the beginning they didn't want to give me a book. They didn't want to share TV. They didn't want to. So they gave me privileges of which they never even thought about. So they stepped over their line to make my life better. And I think at the end, not with all of them, but with 3-4 of the guys, we really had a normal, not normal, of course. I was always independent. I was always depending on them, but they behaved like seeing me and respecting me also as a human being. So in that way, I'm more grateful that they also transformed. And that's why there's no need to forgive them. I think, other people always like to forgive people, but it's not needed here.
So what I'm gathering is you found a way to forgive them during it because you accepted them as there's a situation that they may have been as much of a hostage in their own way.
Yeah, at the end, yes. And because they grew over themselves. Yeah, there's no need to forgive. Yeah, or maybe I forgave them there.
In order to be grateful for what they did. Yeah, you'd have to. Wow, amazing. All right, so now let's change subject a little bit. So you've got all this incredible stuff that happened to you in the past. You overcame. It's incredible, and you're back, and you're starting to talk and do your speaking, and maybe you start writing, and we'll talk about your book. Did you go back to working with Doctors Without Borders, or did you look for another, did you go right into the Help a Girl? And even how did that one come up? I mean, it's similar but different.
No, there was some problems between the family and the organization Doctors Without Borders, so I decided to quit. So I lost my job, but then I thought, I survived for 20 months, the most problematic ordeal in my life, so I can find something else. In the beginning, I just wanted to relax, but after 5-6 months, my therapist said, you better get some structure in your life. You had a sabbatical already for 20 months. He called it a sabbatical. And then first I started to write the book in Dutch. Then I started giving lectures. I got married. I got a child. So that really helped me to get structure in life. And then I heard about the problem with lots of children, minor age children being kidnapped. And I felt related because I was also kidnapped. I was never raped. But I thought, I was also waiting for my freedom. I was also waiting for my second chance. And I remember how bad my family felt and how glad I felt when I hugged my mother again. So I wanted to give that back to girls in Asia, in the Netherlands, in Brazil. So that's with 2 other people we started Free a Girl, and since then, together with local partners in India, in Laos, in Thailand, we released more than 4,700 yeah, minor girls.
And how do you, like, how does that work? Like, how, I mean, it it kind of boggles the mind. Like, to a normal person, you can't even imagine. And I can see how people could go like, that can't be true, that couldn't be happening, or like, because it's so like crazy to even think that people behave that way. So how do you, I mean, obviously it's I can't even articulate how you like reconcile that in your head to be able to get into that so dark.
Yeah,
like to go and then obviously do something about it is what we got to do. But how do you, and how do you do it? How do you find these people?
Yeah, no, this is also a long story. No, I met a guy. He said, yeah, it was just a plain guy from the Netherlands. He said, yeah, maybe you don't believe me, but I've been to India and I've seen this misery. I started helping kids. I started to raise this to build those houses where they're reintegrated, and we reunited with the family. But then there's lots of NGOs or charity organizations, but I really felt connected, and because of the guy, but also because of my history. And I asked him, how can I help you? Yeah, we need money, we need attention. So I had good connections with the TV. So I got him in the biggest TV show. We raised $400,000 that night. And then he said, yeah, why don't you join me? Why don't you go to India to see it yourself? And because I, like the same with you, I thought it's always with pedophiles going after young girls. But he said, no, it's not just pedophiles. It's just a whole culture that people do it. It's cheap. It's not even, it's unbelievable. And then I went to India and I saw the misery myself. But I saw the brothels where they were working. I saw kids at 9 years old thinking that this is the best thing in their life after being transferred, after being trafficked to all kind of other brothels. So they could accept that this was their life. And I thought, that's not normal that kids of 9-year-old think that this is the rest of their life. But then I saw also the small girls that were freed, and I felt like I'm a man. And because of my sword, you had all this misery, but they wanted to play volleyball. They even wanted to sit on my lap because they were so small. And I thought, this is a sign that they are not victims. They're victims of the situation, but they also are survivors. They also manage in their minds not to see me as a evil man or male, but and then I thought, how cool would it be to help to get those girls out of misery and bring them back home. That's how it started. I think the power of resilience, even in those little girls who can, like you said, you're dealing with gratitude or with forgiveness, but their minds were already again into the future. And how cool is it that you can give new futures to children?
I can't even. It's. And so I'm also seeing and getting how you are, where your focus is, and it's instructive here to notice that the people who are surviving and thriving are having a positive vision of the possible future, as opposed to staying stuck in the past or even in the present. And when you are in that situation, then looking for something to be grateful for or find in common or be curious about, or to just get out of that. And this is where I guess the being kidnapped in your own mind of the thoughts of the horrors as opposed to the thoughts of the hope.
True, but lots of people ask that also about my specific own history, but who wants to be a victim? Of course, there's some people who are stuck and who are really had big problems, and you can be a victim for some time. But if you decide for yourself, the rest of my life I'm going to be a victim, it also ruins your life. So that's where it should start with. And of course, you can tell this to your mind, but your mind should take over, of course, that, hey, I have also the opportunities to change. I can go to see a mental health doctor or and of course, it doesn't work for everyone, but I think there's so many opportunities to look for better things in your life, to tell yourself that you're stronger than a victim, that it will help your life to find a solution. And I think like you said, if you have the curiosity, if you start thinking in possibilities instead of negative blocking images in your mind. But of course, it's not so easy for everyone.
Oh no, simple, not easy.
No,
Right?
No, but you should try because it really makes your life better. And there's lots of people. Like when I came home, of course, everyone wanted to help me. And we're always afraid to ask for help. But how many times did you say no to someone if he really came with a question to help you? And I think most people want to help. And of course, there's always people who want to take a profit of you. But ask for help, look for help. But also, I think the feeling that you overcome your own strength. Now, how to say it that you show yourself that you're stronger than you thought. That is also an amazing feeling. So, and that doesn't mean that you have to make a giant step. Even a small step that shows you that you're stronger than the day before, that might help. And that's how I learned it in the kidnap situation. But also now I'm an entrepreneur, and I also take risks, and I also calculate my risk. But I never start something, and I guess the same as you, that it's not going to make a difference, or I'm going to fail. You start something with the idea I'm going to be successful, and then if
you do fail, all you did was learn something.
Yeah. And then you start all over again. And maybe that's easy with me because I lost everything. But now I don't want to lose everything. I just succeed. Yeah. And same for the girls. They also, luckily, they're small. They have a whole life. But most of the time, the time of your future is longer than the time of your history.
Yeah. Well, for them, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow. So when you've written a few, is it just the held hostage book, or it looked like you had a few books? You have a couple books?
But this is the English one. I have a couple of books in the Netherlands. One is about my kidnap situation. One is about why people radicalize, so why they became Muslim fighters. Because in Europe, I don't know if it's the same in America, there's lots of guys, young students, who go to fight in Syria or go to fight in Afghanistan. And of course we want to change their
well, what we're experiencing here in America, I guess the similarity might be like the people who are Antifa or trying to I'm against mandates. Like I don't think that we should, vaccine passports and all of that. So from my perspective, and people who think like that feel like it's radical in America to say, hey, you should have a vaccine passport and you need to, wear a mask and you can't do this unless you do that. So that to me is radicalization.
Yeah, true.
So speak on that. Like, what did you learn? What did you notice? And what have you maybe noticed of what could be done to maybe mitigate such a challenge?
I think at least listen to each other. That helps. Because it's the same here in the Netherlands with this people who have a different idea about this vaccination. They're seen as lunatics, but they're not lunatics. There's people with really worries and so listen to them, maybe even try to create a surrounding for them that they can also have their lives, because why should everyone be the same? And start dealing. Respect is not an easy word, but they also have a right to have their opinion. And especially now with this woke and all this political correctness, we should all have the same ideas, and it's a sort of fascism that everyone should think the same and be the same, which doesn't make life colorful anymore.
Nope.
We're making it even worse. That's what I think. If we start talking about who are you, what kind of ethnicity, then you focus much more on differences than focusing on what makes us equal, and that makes it much more beautiful life, because most people are equal in their thoughts, in their in their wishes, in everything. And like in my country 5, 6, 7 years ago, we just treated each other as people, and now we started to treat each other as ethnicities and sexual orientation, and we didn't care before that.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. It's so interesting how it all started to, like, it's almost like people are saying they're using differences to make things not different.
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
It doesn't, right? It's counter, like it's illogical, and it's so interesting you share that, because it seems like, I would say good 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, people got along better, just in general.
So too. Yeah,
and then somewhere along the lines, we've all become somewhat radicalized, I suppose.
Yeah, dogmatic, definitely.
Yeah. 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 I mean, it's interesting, like even here now, like if they're trying to change language. I don't know if you've seen how that's all happened here, not only pronouns and that kind of thing, but there's talk of, there was a murder case, a massacre case, like it was a serial shooter. And the defense argued that you cannot use the word massacre, murder, tragedy, like all of these words. It's just it was the unfortunate incident. It was like
yeah. No, it's we are so afraid to hurt each other,
so we hurt each other by not hurting each other.
Yeah, and I think that's also part of life, to be hurt. Of course, we don't have to do it on purpose. But we should also learn each other to be resilient and to have some pain in life, because one day you will die, or your someone else will die, and they will miss you. So it's part of it. Or maybe you run under a car and you will. I hope it doesn't happen, but incident happens, and we should also not look forward to it. Be prepared.
Well, and that's so interesting, because it's almost like it's somewhere in the last few years, we've almost gotten to the point where there's an expectation that no one suffers any discomfort.
Yeah. No.
Those words hurt, those, like everything hurts, and we're not supposed to get sick. And like, I remember when I was a kid, like just using like illness as an example, when my friend said, hey, my mom's friend was like, oh, my kid's got chicken pox. Yep. My mom was like, you're going over to his house, right? You're going to get it, because you're going to get it. So let's control it. I know when it's going to happen. We can prepare, and then you won't have it. And I remember even watching an old episode of the Brady Bunch. Do you remember the Brady Bunch?
Yeah.
And all the kids got measles.
Yep.
And it wasn't like, oh my God, they got measles. It was like, they got measles, and the message of the story was not, and of the show is not, you've got to get vaccinated and we got to eliminate measles from the planet. It was, Mike called his doctor, the man doctor, for the girls, and Carol called the woman doctor for the boys. And the message of the show is that women can be doctors and treat men, and men could be doctors and treat women. We're all okay. It's like, that's a good message. Like that was the message, not fear about measles. It was just a part of life.
And next to that, about people, if we start to antagonize people, we will never find each other. But if you try to look for the common parts, like in my kidnapping, it's all about making people human again, instead of making people a different sort. And it's a pity. But I think we need more examples, because of it's always nice for the media also to make it sound bigger than it is.
No one will tune in. I think one of the biggest challenges we have in our world is 24-hour news, because no one tunes in unless it says alert, right? So every time you turn on, it's alert, like, some horror, some challenge, something. And we've built a tolerance to it. So it's got to be worse and worse and worse. Otherwise people won't tune in. They'll be like, I'm tired of that. And then it's like, oh no, now you're going to die. And like, maybe I should pay attention to that.
Yeah. So sometimes I wish everyone was kidnapped for a little bit of time, and that for sure that you're getting out. But you need sometimes to stop your life and to rethink, and then you can explore and start accelerate again. But you need this silence, or this moment of quietness. And I think maybe that's what's missing, because if we are bored, we take our telephone, we take our iPad or whatever. We don't want to be bored anymore. But from boredom, also new ideas starts, of course, and rest. But yeah, I don't have the solution, Doug. But I know for sure people will always be hurt, will always have pain, and lets people be prepared. And it doesn't help thinking that we can prevent that.
Right.
Of course, again, we shouldn't do it on purpose, not too much. But even with some jokes, you can also learn people to be more resilient.
Of course. Well, and that's the combination as well. Is I'm sure you have friends that you can joke with. And you can, be kind of dark or satirical or say something that another person might be offended by.
Yeah, true.
And you know that with your friends and all of that. And by the same token, oftentimes people may say something depending on what a mood we're in the first place, what state. Like if I'm angry and someone does a joke, I might respond differently than if I'm grateful or if I'm feeling good. So there's all these other things that are at play, which, it is valuable for us to have. What you kind of started this out with is just not dehumanizing, getting curious instead of overreacting. If someone says something and maybe you go, oh, well, what else could that mean? I wonder, interesting. Maybe they're not having such a great day. Maybe, they're lashing out because they're in some sort of pain or frustration or confusion. And then especially today, how stressed out people are with, all of this negative news and, now with Afghanistan and COVID and vaccine mass passports and mandates and all this, everyone's like freaking out. Yeah. So everyone's like already kind of raw. And this is the time where we really need to, like you shared, step back, right? And just calm down and maybe get curious instead of getting
and empathy
angry.
Also. For example, in the beginning, when I was just kidnapped, they never felt sorry for me. And I thought, how can they be such a hard people? And they should feel some mercy. And I felt myself like the most sad person on earth. And then I started wondering, how come they don't react? And then I started asking about, what did you experience in your life? And then one guy, his wife was killed, the other one, his house was bombed. Then I started to realize, maybe they don't think it's such a big thing to be kidnapped. And they said, everyone is kidnapped every now and then in Chechnya.
It's just a thing. What are you talking about? We get kidnapped like once a month. Come on.
No, but it helped me to realize, okay, exactly what you're saying. Try to imagine their their viewpoint, or how you call it, point of view.
Yeah.
And
their perspective.
Yeah, their perspective, and that's what we forget, I think. Definitely.
Yeah, they have a different model of the world, and so here's what brings up now an interesting thing, and where it gets very complex and challenging, and you navigated it brilliantly. Because we have different cultures and we have different models of the world. You found out pretty quickly that in order to communicate with them more effectively, you had to kind of understand them better. Yeah. And it wasn't a one size fits all. Even within the group, I'm sure there were different people you could communicate differently with. And what I'm getting at is, when I look at how we're dealing with a lot of the challenges today, we're not necessarily taking other people's model of the world into account when we're dealing with a conversation. Like you shared with, you had to show you earned the respect of your captors by stepping up to a certain degree, not fighting, but also holding your own.
Yep.
Because had you been like a quivering mess, weeping on the ground all day, you wouldn't have survived.
No, it would have been very difficult. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm bringing that up because as we notice a lot of the ways, and this is what political correctness is doing, is instead of taking a step back and just looking at a model of the world and not forcing another person's model of the world on them, because that's what mandates are. That's what that is. That's someone saying, you're going to do it the way I think is best, and it may or may not be appropriate. And same is true, like to go into like what's going on in Afghanistan and all of that. My hallucination is that we are approaching it as if you and I are having a conversation and we're being rational and normal, and of course we understand there's certain things we're not going to do, like kill people and things.
Yeah, no, but it's different everywhere.
Right.
Yeah, and it doesn't necessarily have to be good, but it's there anyway.
It wasn't like suggesting anything is good. It's acknowledging the existence of the challenge, and that it's not a one size fits all.
What would you do? For example, it helped me. We had the Second World War with Germans taking over the Netherlands, and so I thought maybe the Chechens also think Russians took over Chechnya, and they also fighting back, and that you can at least understand.
Right.
Yeah, and of course that they want to make it an Islamic country, that's already a bit too much. But at least there's lots of common ground why people behave like they do. And yeah, do you have an answer of how people can come back to that we at least listen and we at least try to have the middle way?
Right.
Yeah.
The middle way. Yeah, that's from the Tao, right? We're just trying to find the middle way where we can agree, because and the way I frame it is purpose over process.
Yeah. Yeah, no, true.
Right. So, like, let's say, like, I use guns as an example because you had brought it up earlier. In the Netherlands, you don't have guns, and I'm, full disclosure, in America, culturally and all that, I believe Second Amendment rights, because we have the opportunity and the reason why it was there, because it's to also be able to not only defend ourselves, but hopefully keep the government in check. That's the rationale behind it. Whether you agree with it or not, that's the rationale. So. But here's the difference. Like, I have friends who are very anti-gun. Like, they're like, guns, no one should have a gun. Yeah. And I get it. And it's okay. So, but instead of getting upset with people, here's what I understand. The reason why people believe people shouldn't have guns is to be safe.
Yep.
The reason why most law-abiding, healthy citizens that own guns is to keep people safe.
Yeah, it's about.
So now that we got that clear, like, we both want the same thing, now we can have a conversation on how we get there and not make each other wrong for it, and go, okay, is there a way to find that middle way? Because, while I'm being open and sharing my beliefs, that doesn't mean that I'm a bad person or I want anyone to die or get shot.
No.
What I want is the opportunity, God forbid, someone came in and were going to kidnap me or my family, that I could at least have a potential opportunity to stop it. And that's not to say that had you had a gun while you were over there, that you could have stopped your kidnapping and it could have escalated, and there's all sorts of other things. But if you wanted the opportunity and the right to do so, it's, I don't think that's necessarily, people have different strategies.
No, true. And like you said, we're still human, and it doesn't mean you're a bad person, and it doesn't mean you should be neglected or left out. Yeah, because we can have different opinions, but the purpose is the same, safety. Only the route towards it is different. But that's also, lots of people don't like routes. They all the route or the way, the path to the end. They only think about the result. Also in business, but also in life. And I learned that it's also very interesting, and it's a cliche, of course, that the path towards the success should also be interesting. And then success becomes less important, because sometimes we focus too much on the result and we forgot how we get there. And if we...
Well, and the term, the frame that I'm using is that the result is more important than how we get there, in that, let's say what you're doing is not working, like in your success. Were there things that you learned that you had to change how you got there? That maybe you got some resistance, maybe, so that's what I mean, that you want to be able to change your process as well. That sometimes people go, the only way to experience X is by the way I'm telling you, and you may go, well, yeah, but you could also go this way, or you could go this way, or you could go this way, and that's the framework I mean in that.
No, I agree. And for example, in my way, I was taught not to talk about politics, not to talk about religion once you're kidnapped. But as the guys wanted to talk about religion all the time, yeah, I also started to talk about the religion, also started to talk about politics. But when I was too enthusiastic in telling my way of thinking, yeah, they could become angry, and then I could understand. Okay, maybe the rules
cross the line. Okay.
Yeah.
Reel it in.
Yeah, but for example, yeah, what did I learn? That sometimes if you're not stand up for yourself, I had to box with them. But for example, which is also success of winning. But the result could also be that they win and that I have a black eye, that I lose respect. But if I win, the guy might lose respect. So for me, it was really difficult. What should I do?
So did you ever throw a fight?
Yeah, no. So they invited me, or they told me I should fight with their leader. But then, yeah, I was wondering, maybe I can escape, and maybe I tell them I'm the champ from Rotterdam and I'm from the ghetto, and but they didn't believe me, and they said, yeah, your hands are not so big. I said, let's show me your hands. It's also not big. This is the last day that you will be the general here because I will beat you up. And then I was standing against him there in the dark, and I thought, no, I'm not the first one who's going to hit, because I will try to dug away. And I managed, but then he hit me on my eye, and I had a black eye. It really felt like I'm seeing the stars. And then I hit him back really quite well. And he said, okay, stop. You've shown that you've been a real man. But then also it took some strength and some pride and honor again that you overstep yourself. And I think that's also part of the root, because the success was not clear, but how cool is it to say that you were fighting with a guy who kidnapped you? And so for me, success is not always the success you plan to have.
100%. Success, and that's the other thing. Success has different definitions for different people, and sometimes we could change our definition of what that success means. Yeah. When I'm the real deal on success, does not mean financial success exclusively. It might for someone, and maybe someone comes on, shares their financial success and some of their strategies. But what we find is the way people are successful, meaning achieving their outcome. Yeah. There's a lot of similarities. It's all about like your mindset. What's your relationship with the challenge? Are you allowing the resistance to take you out of the game? You know, like some people may have been like, you know, when the general, like, okay, you're going to fight the general. Someone have been like, I'm not fighting the general. No way. Like this, I'm going to get my ass kicked. Or they may go, like, what do I do? I don't, what if I win? Then, then I'm in trouble. Like there's all these weird things, and they may avoid it. And you're like, I'll take it on. How cool is that? Right. And that's unique. And this is why less people are successful at anything, because of their relationship with what it takes to get there.
Yeah. And that's why I think freedom, and that's where my talks are about, of course, is the base of all this potential, or unlocking the potential, or being innovative, or being able to change, because the freedom itself gives you so much space to try, to lose, to win, because it doesn't hurt you at the end.
Right.
Because all the, of course you have to have boundaries, because you cannot, your freedom should not be at cost of other people's freedom. But there's so many dreams being made, how to say it in English, lots of people have dreams, and that's why they don't start, but many more dreams are shattered than really failure, of course.
Yeah.
And of course you can fail, but you should always run after your dreams, and failure is not so bad.
No, it's necessary.
No, of course not necessarily true, but
yeah, I mean, you know how to walk, right?
Yeah.
How many times did you fail on your way to learning how to walk?
No, many times, I guess.
Yeah. So, but when we're kids, when we're babies, we don't have that relationship with failure. We don't beat ourselves up for it. You know, we have supportive parents around. Oh no, you could do it. I believe in you. You know that, and that we lose that over time.
Yeah.
Through a series of situations, clearly, not as intense as yours. But that is the ultimate freedom that we need, is receiving the true understanding of our freedom of thought. And I think, and that's where I think, when we go down sort of, rabbit holes of how people are being manipulated and being influenced, is by changing our language, by, this is, when you talk about the radicalization, they were radicalized by creating cages of thought, of exposure and ways of thinking, and you couldn't veer out of, which then we are stuck in our own thoughts. And this is what's really scary about what's happening today, is through using language, changing language, through constant, now I even heard here again, I'm not pro-vax or anti-vax in this conversation. No. It's I'm about mandates, about whether you must be, being forcing me to do it. The opposition defiant part of me gets really riled up. But now the language that is supposed to be used here, and this is, I think, from the CDC, I don't know where around the world, what kind of influence they have, but it's no longer the unvaxxed. Now you refer to someone who's not vaccinated, not yet vaccinated.
Ah, okay.
So, I mean, that is a huge distinction, because basically that's saying, like, the presupposition is you're gonna get vaxxed.
At the end,
you're just not yet. This is
no, we don't have that yet here, not yet.
But notice how it's created. It's taking away freedom of thought. Because by indoctrinating and constantly using language and the lexicon shifts like that, then the presupposition becomes the reality.
No, it's true, but it's the same. And we're still allowed to smoke. We're allowed to take alcohol, and we can still go to the doctor and they say, it's not such a big problem that you take alcohol. But not taking the vaccine, that's almost the worst thing you can do. And people should be punished. And I'm also not very much anti or pro, but of course you can see that we all try to guide those people in the direction of that they have to be vaccinated. But all kind of other things we do to risk our health, we don't do anything against it. So why is this suddenly the big thing that we all have to fight against? There's still more people die about cancer or heart disease and malaria in the world. Of course it's dangerous if we're all together, but most people, for most people it's something that they will recover from again. More than certainly more than what they first were sharing. No, it's true. I also don't like this idea that people cannot be free of their own opinion about COVID.
And that's the other thing. It's different. It's one thing. It's just to mandate putting something in your body. It's one thing to, with the masks, again, I don't believe in mandating anything. And, the mask, at least you can undo the mask, right? You could take the mask off. If you're having trouble breathing, you can pull it down, you can do whatever. You can't undo whatever is put in your body. So it's a big decision. And whatever the reason is that someone doesn't necessarily have their, be okay with it, I believe that is their freedom to choose. And that's what's really scary, and then which I think takes us back to, are we getting into repeating future, right? Repeating the past of show me your papers.
I hope.
Where's the line?
It doesn't go this way. I hope we will facilitate, and that's what I said at the beginning, also facilitate the people that don't want to be vaccinated to be still part of society. Mm-hmm. And even with testing, maybe they should allow to be tested. I don't know, but I hope that at the end, people who want to take their vaccine, they take it. Who don't want to take the vaccine, don't take it. And that we have a sort of control system with controlling that we can still leave out the people who are sick at home for the moment, and people who are not sick but not vaccinated can also be part of society. And I think that should be the focus, so that everyone can still, because it's not like it's not like you're a pedophile and you're not supposed to be with kids, because that's a clear line.
Well, you know what? They get more privacy They will have more privacy than if things go the way they're going, than someone, if the powers that be had their way. Everyone would know whether or not you're vaccinated, but no one would know whether or not you're a pedophile.
No, so
because that's your pride. That's you need to have your freedom. No one should know that about you.
Yeah,
we're not going to do a stigma about that. But you didn't.
No. So I hope we'll find a common ground, and that both are part of it. And I think, luckily, there's more protest and more people realizing that too much freedom is taken away.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wake up.
Coming from someone, and here's like a weird thing for you, I imagine, and I'm gathering you're recognizing, the importance of everyone having that freedom, because you could be like, you're complaining about, freedom about your vaccination? Try being locked up in a 6-foot cave for 20 months. Stop your bitching, right? But
no.
Thankfully,
everyone has his own problems. And that's why you should not. I think at least you should listen to it, and then you can say, hey, don't nag about it, or try to change the situation, because you're still in control of how to deal with it.
And to your point, I think that, hopefully what we got out of this conversation is more empathy for whomever you're in conflict with, whether it be political, religious, health, whatever your thing is, guns, doesn't really matter, that we are going to each be more successful at navigating our way through whatever the situation is by having more empathy for each other, understanding and appreciating their world, not making the person wrong and dehumanizing them and demonizing them, but by being open, curious, and treating each other with as much love and respect as possible based on the circumstances. And if someone like you, meaning being in that situation, were able to create a situation of at least respect for each other. I'm not suggesting you loved your captors, but you at least were able to find a modicum of respect in order to have a more tolerable experience and get through it in a way that didn't hurt each other to an extensive degree. We should be able to have a conversation around mandates, vaccines, testing, and all of that without, basically demonizing each other. And that, I think, is hopefully what people get out of, or at least one of the many incredible messages people could get out of, meeting you and learning about your experience.
Yeah, no, that's a good resume. Definitely.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Is there any last words that you would like to share, or anything you have coming up that you want to promote? Or we're going to have your websites, your book. We have your the website for you, freeagirlusa.org and heldhostagebook.com. They're all in the comments. Anything else you'd like to share before we set you free? No pun intended.
No, just to people to really see how strong freedom can influence your life, and how beautiful it can be if you just excel every now and then. Not all the time, but be proud of what you've been reaching so far, but also try to get a little bit more.
Beautiful.
It's not so strong, but in Dutch it's easier.
Yeah.
Like I always say, I learned the hard way all the lessons of having discipline, focus, endurance, but also empathy, connection. And I don't use it every day, of course, because then my life would be perfect. But I know at least how to get the feeling and when I can use it. And if people wonder about themselves, what powers do I have? You have to sometimes excel, and you have to find them. And it doesn't mean you always have to use them, but just be curious also about yourself and what you can do, what you cannot, and if it's really true, and just discover yourself and then use it. Yeah, that's a bit different. Yep.
Right. Oh, love it, brother. Well, look, I appreciate you so much for who you are and who you aren't. And again, go to heldhostagebook.com, freeagirlusa.org, or arjanerkel.nl, but it's spelled ARJANERKEL.NL.
Yes.
So thank you so much, brother. And I look forward to watching more of your magic as you continue to transform the world.
Okay, thank you, Doc. Thank you for your time. Fantastic.
Thank you. All right,
Okay,
brother.
cool.